Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do a segment on this channel, H.A. Goodman, of over 196,000 subscribers. Hit subscribe right now. We're almost at 200,000 subs. It is because of you. I also have a stock market crash channel. Why do I have a stock market crash channel? Because I've been telling you since October. So hit subscribe in the pinned comment to the stock market crash channel. I just did a segment on this. A nearly 1,000 point drop in the Dow Jones today. Now, you might say, well, this is just a correction or it's volatility. Let me just give you some numbers. We have close to $1 trillion in margin debt in the United States stock market. We have 300 trillion in global markets, over $300 trillion in debt, according to Reuters, throughout the world. We have $4 trillion. Now I'm giving you some statistics. This is according to the Associated Press, USA Today, Reuters. $4 trillion in hedge fund assets. Okay. We have no clue how much margin debt. Sometimes they're 100 to 500% on margin. So if they have, let's say, $100 in a stock, they'll buy up to $500 in margin just based on the equity of $100 in a stock. That's just an example. Okay, I don't run a hedge fund, but that's the leverage sometimes up to 500% according to Investopedia. And that's just, you're looking at just numbers here. Inflation at close to 9%. Consumer price index, producer price index, Baltic dry shipping index, all of these indexes are showing record highs. The inflation is runaway. They said, well, it was just temporary. It was never temporary, and that's why President Mashed Potato Brains deserves a lot of criticism. Okay? You cannot go into the Oval Office. You can't go into the Oval Office and say that you want to save the planet by decarbonizing the economy after your political party and media pushed to end economic activity. Now you have even Germany heading into a recession. We're heading into a recession. Every country that ended their economic activity, I wrote about this in the Federalist. Read my article in the Federalist below predicting all of this. I said we're heading towards an absolute catastrophe because of the policies of the wonderful, highly educated, morally superior. I said that. That's what we're heading into. And you can look, ladies and gentlemen, and it's like when you look at what took place today, the market is realizing that corporate profits from Netflix to other countries are declining, or they're not growing as fast as the valuations would justify. We pumped $10 trillion into the economy. Hit subscribe to this channel. Let's get to 200,000 subs, because I'm telling you things a lot of political channels are not telling you. Now, I'm voting for Trump or DeSantis in 2024. 2024. And also, 2022, there will be a red wave, obviously. I mean, look, you have runaway inflation. We're heading into a recession. Gas prices are through the roof. There's a geopolitical nightmare. What else do you want? The adults are in charge. Could you imagine? This is like they think that this is good, actually. Like their version of governing is, well, anything that happens under our watch is all right, as long as we are presiding over the executive office and Congress. But when you look, wealth inequality, poverty is increasing. AOC, Bernie Sanders, and I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. The unofficial scribe of Sanders is the most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Why do I vote for Trump or DeSantis? Because it's Bernie's policies, AOC's policies, and Biden's policies. You cannot push for an eviction moratorium when you've prevented families and working people from actually working. And sorry, you can't say, well, the experts told us. Sorry, can't do that. And there's a lot of things that I could say that I won't say right now. But you can't pat yourself on the back because you've given $10 trillion in fiscal and monetary stimulus. And I predicted all of this, and I wrote about that in the Federalist. You can't simply say, well, we gave people $10 trillion. In stimulus checks and in terms of monetary stimulus and quantitative easing, they should be happy. You prevented people from working, and then you obsessed endlessly as if you just, like, nothing worked. And every country that did this now has inflation through the roof. Then you have a president who comes in, we're going to combat climate change, and then jettisons that immediately a year into his presidency. Geopolitical nightmare. Maybe oil and gas is a huge topic of consideration that is a national security issue. 14 states, according to CNBC, including oil and gas associations, are suing mashed potato brains and Democrats in the Oval Office. Why? Because within those lawsuits, they state that the policies of the Democratic Party are causing inflation and gas prices and fossil fuels to go up. It's within those lawsuits. You have 14 states, according to CNBC. All oil-producing states. So don't say that, and that you have this nonsense on the left. Oh, the oil companies are taking too many profits. They lost money in 2 years ago. Because when you turn off the economy, industries that rely on projections of supply and demand that are commodity-based industries, like the oil and gas industry, well, when you suddenly stop supply or just demand, drops and you cut demand immediately, you have completely disrupted supply chains and supply and demand projections. And so, you're going to have these problems. And I wrote about this, ladies and gentlemen. And look, you have Archegos going under last year. You have Melvin Capital getting bailed out. You have Anchorage Capital, a big hedge fund that just stopped doing business because they said, well, you know what? This is a terrible environment to do business. They're raising interest rates because that's what caused the 1,000-point drop today. The raising interest rates, while there's a recession and GDP, gross domestic product, is contracting, and guess what? Build Back Better, there were projections that showed that the GDP eventually would contract, and the National Association of Manufacturers were against Build Back Better. They said it would lose 1 million jobs, something to that effect, because of the tax increases. All Democrats care about, it's like, if you want to increase taxes, make sure there's economic growth. If you want to protect the planet, make sure there's economic growth. Because if you have a self-induced economic catastrophe and you decide to protect the planet and tax people and focus on infrastructure, which nobody ever said was an impediment to our economic growth, it's something that you have to eventually get to. I mean, that was something that Trump was focused on. But now you have Biden pumping strategic oil reserves into the economy. Exact opposite of what his left-leaning base wanted. My God almighty. Do you not see, if you're on the left, do you not see that poverty is increasing? You have this nonsense also. The oil and gas companies are lining their profits. It's because they lost money, number one, 2 years ago. And number two, fossil fuels are up because you have Europe and the U.S. obsessing over protecting the planet at the expense of economic growth, literally getting sued for that specific issue. Like I said, CNBC, 14 states and oil and gas associations suing our current president. So don't blame those companies when you've completely disrupted supply chains and supply and demand projections because experts told you to do so. Mindless. You gave Andrew Cuomo an Emmy for tanking his economy and putting people 13 to 15,000 people, according to Democrats in New York. His decisions cost their lives. I have a stock market crash channel that I devote to this, and I have a segment out on that. But ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling people that it's going to get worse. I've been telling people that it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And it is going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. Unfortunately, we're heading towards a catastrophic collapse. And it's going to be a 2008 situation. You have investment banks giving billions upon billions, likely hundreds of billions or more, to hedge funds to buy derivatives and stocks on margin. Sometimes these hedge funds are leveraged up to 500%. You have no clue. The SEC and FINRA does not know how much money is leveraged in the U.S. financial system because, guess what? Like the Archegos hedge fund showed, Dodd-Frank did not implement the initial margin requirements for hedge funds and derivatives yet. They will at the end of this year. Get ready for a catastrophe just in terms of compliance issues. My God. Because a lot of these hedge funds are just lying through their teeth. So they're going to have increased margin requirements, and they're going to have to sell their stock positions to meet those margin requirements, or get margin calls and be forced to meet those margin requirements because the margin requirements will be more stringent. I mean, the whole thing is like about to collapse. I've been telling people this for 6 months. That's why you should hit subscribe to this channel, because I give you I come from the left. But now I'm like, okay, I will vote for anyone who's opposed by the Lincoln Project, DeSantis, Trump. If it's Mitt Romney, then I'll vote for Tulsi Gabbard if she runs. But Mitt Romney won't be. The nominee will be obviously Trump or DeSantis. Trump and DeSantis, who hopefully they run together. But I want economic growth. Because economic growth helps the entire country, of everyone, all citizens. You will not get economic growth with Democrats. You see what's taking place right now. You will not. You will not get any good geopolitical achievements. Look what's taking place. It's a nightmare. And what happened before this in Europe it was a nightmare also. Biden completely botched the Doha Agreement. You have mashed potato brains wandering about, bumbling, stumbling. They don't know what they're doing. Their whole lives are, it's not Trump. I told you, it's like they're obsessed with Trump. They would rather have ruin and chaos than have Trump tweeting. And by the way, that's probably going to happen. It will happen. Elon Musk will allow that to happen. Good. If you don't if you have silence, debate, discussion, discourse, and you're presiding over geopolitical nightmares and an economic catastrophe, you're the one who needs to tone it down, not Trump. We had record low unemployment with Trump. We had hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, GDP growing. Now we have GDP contracting with $10 trillion pumped in, and now we have to raise interest rates. Again, you push for, if you have AOC and Bernie Sanders pushing for an eviction moratorium, nobody asked them, well, why did you prevent people from working? Well, we had to. No, you didn't. It was a choice. Other countries didn't. You chose to do the things you did. Because you're completely apoplectic as always. Everything is, if you don't listen to us, the sky is going to fall and people will lose their lives. And then they listen to you, and then the whole thing collapses. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Ladies and gentlemen, everything I've been saying is taking place. This is nothing. Like, unfortunately, like I told you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're about to retire, and I have a lot of people who watch this channel in their 50s and 60s, if you're about to retire, 50s is young, but if you're about to retire, if you need the money, let's say in your 20s, you watch this channel, you need the money, don't be in the market. If you can say thank God that you're up in the market, I don't want to tell people, give them any specific advice. I would say you'd be a fool if you need the money, whether you're about to retire or whether you're in your 20s. If you need the money, you'd be a fool to stay in this market. Hit subscribe to this channel, to the stock market crash channel below. Please go ahead and hit subscribe to that one. It's below in the pinned comment, and it is a featured channel of H.A. Goodman. And I just want to thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for getting me and this channel and us to 196,000 subs. We're on our way to 200,000 subscribers. Tell your friends about this channel. Read my Federalist article below in the pinned comment. And subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. Thank you so very, very much.